week one is in the books. Let's hear from Ben with Ben's weekly recap.
That was horrible.
Yeah, it was.
Wasn't it? So, week one has just passed, the 2021 season. First of all, I'm thrilled that the NFL is back. I'm sure everybody else out there is too. So let's go over some of these games and let me give you a quick recap of what happened. I'm not going to give you all the stats of everybody. I'm going to give you some opinions. I'm going to give you some information, and I might throw even throw in a couple little fantasy tips. So week one, let's start off with the Thursday night game, the very first game of the season. The Dallas Cowboys went to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers won the game 31-29. So the big question in this game was, would the Cowboys offense be able to put up points at the same clip that they did last season before Dak got injured? Obviously, it looked to be quite a task against the Super Bowl champion defense of the Buccaneers, but it didn't take long for me to declare that, yes, Dak is back. His arm strength may be a little in question because of the shoulder injury that he had in training camp, but his ball placement was definitely on point. Unfortunately, the Dallas defense looked no better than they were last year, and the boys gave up a ton of points. They gave up on the run far too early offensively. Zeke basically had no rushing yards to speak of, far less than I would like to have seen him get. And although the game was close throughout, they still continued to not run and continue to throw the ball, and they couldn't get the final TD to put the game away. Not to mention that they left, because by the way, they needed the final TD to put the game away because they were actually ahead. With less than 2 minutes left, they were ahead, could not score, gave the ball back to Tom Brady. If you give him between a minute and a half and 2 minutes, guess what? You're in trouble. Yeah. Now,
especially if all he needs is a field goal.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? His entire career is field goal wins. You know what I mean?
That's okay.
It's amazing,
especially in big games.
But they're wins, and that's so important. That's why we do net points, man. And you know, but you're so right when you said about 2020, because I'm sitting and looking at going, this looks like deja vu all over again.
Hey, even if you win with a field goal in the final seconds, whenever you possess the ball, either on a kickoff or a punt, you have to have an offense that can drive the ball and get you in the field goal position, even when the defense knows that that's what you're trying to do. You have to be able to hit the sideline routes and guys get out of bounds to stop the ball. You have to be able to clock it. You have to be able to get in and out of the huddle. You have to be able to run call 2 or 3 plays from the line so that you can keep the ball moving and preserve time so that once you get in the field goal range, that your kicker's field goal range, that you have time for him to get out there, kick it, game over, see you later. So
you just put together the academic curriculum for Lamar Jackson and make that next step as a quarterback.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are the kind of things that every quarterback.
I hope he's listening.
Those are the kind of things that every quarterback in the NFL needs to be able to do. Those are the kind of things that every offensive coordinator has to be prepared to do, because you never know when you're going to be in that position to be able to win a game, but you have to get in the field goal position to win it. And then ultimately your kicker has to make it. But let's face it, that's what he's getting paid to do. He doesn't do anything else. So you have to be able to move the ball into his range so that he can do what he gets paid to do. And if you can't do that, then you're going to lose by 1, 2, 3 points. Now, let's talk about the Bucs real quick. Oh, well, actually, I'm not finished with the Cowboys just yet. So I'm going to give Dak a lot of credit for how he played. I thought he looked really good. Excuse me. The Bucs were missing 2 DBs. I think they were missing one coming into the game, and then one of their corners got hurt during the game. But I was surprised that they struggled to defend against the pass as badly as they did. They did get one interception, but they only sacked Dak once. and they had to rely on Tom Terrific to save the day. So neither team did much on the ground. Dak went 42 of 58, 42 of 58. That tied his career high in attempts. Throw 58 passes, that's crazy, okay? He went for 403 yards. He did throw 3 touchdown passes, but he got outdueled by Tom Brady, 32 of 50, 370 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Enough said. Next game, Philadelphia Eagles go into Atlanta to play the Falcons. The Eagles win the game 32-6. I'll tell you this. We live in Philadelphia. I listen to talk radio. There was a lot of trepidation. Oh, I'm not sure, Atlanta's got Pitts and Ryan's not done yet, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Eagles came out with an extremely diverse and balanced attack against a rebuilding Falcons defense, and they basically just wore them boys out. Miles Sanders got a sufficient amount of touches. He got 74 yards on the ground on 15 carries, and he caught 4 passes for another 39. But the real story for the Eagles was quarterback Jalen Hurts, who now all of a sudden everybody loves. He was a very efficient 27 to 35, 264 yards. He threw 3 touchdown passes to 3 different receivers, and he ran the ball 7 times for 62 yards. Extremely productive. Looking for a big season from Jalen Hurts. The Pittsburgh Steelers roll into Buffalo to play the Bills, one of my favorite teams to watch in the AFC. This was a borderline intriguing game. I did pick a different game to be my intriguing game. I don't know which one was yours, Barry. But this was a borderline intriguing game. But it turned out to be not as good as I thought it was going to be. Pittsburgh got the victory 23-16. Now, Josh Allen threw 51 passes. These quarterbacks throwing 50 passes. This is crazy. He threw 51 passes in this game, but he was extremely inaccurate. Now, I had a long discussion with somebody on Facebook about how Josh Allen looked. The guy tried to tell me that Josh Allen has been inaccurate since he came into the league. That is not true. The knock on Josh Allen coming into the league before the draft, when he was drafted, was that he was inaccurate, but he had all the other skills, could make every throw, could run, tall, strong, pretty fast, okay? But accuracy was an issue. Over the 3 years he's been in the league, he has improved that tremendously. Anybody who doesn't believe it, look up the 2020 stats. He was ranked 6th in completion percentage last season. 6th out of 32 starting quarterbacks. He was number 6. So don't tell me Josh Allen is inaccurate. But in this game, he was inaccurate. And he was only able to complete 30 of those 51 passes, 270 yards, and he only threw 1 touchdown pass. He was forced into hurrying a bunch of his throws because he was under serious duress from the Pittsburgh pass rush. They basically had their way with an overwhelmed Buffalo Bills offensive line. I don't know what the heck is going on there. They recorded 3 sacks, 1 fumble recovery. They blocked a punt, scoop, and scored it. And they stopped Buffalo on 2 fourth down attempts. That was big. So that basically was the story of that game. Let's see. Minnesota rolls into Cincinnati to play the Bengals. The Minnesota Vikings lost to the Cincinnati Bengals 27-24 in overtime. Very entertaining game. The Vikings defense was pretty bad. And the team committed 10 penalties in the first half, which contributed to them trailing for almost the entire second half. Consequently, Kirk Cousins accumulated most of his 36 completions on 49 attempts in the last 2 quarters and in the overtime. He finished with 351 yards. He did throw 2 touchdowns through the air, but the normally productive running back Dalvin Cook could only grind out 61 yards on 20 carries. Now, on average, that's a pretty good day if your offense is balanced, but they weren't balanced. He still got 20 carries, but they kind of held him at bay. So that's a good thing to look forward to with the Bengals defense. Cook did, however, catch 6 passes for 43 yards, but he fumbled in overtime. That gave Joe Burrow and the Bengals the opportunity to win the game. Bengals running back Joe Mixon did his part. He had 127 yards rushing on 29 really tough carries. So think about it, 29 carries. That's a lot. You want your starting running back to be able to carry the ball 20 times a game, maybe 25. He ground out 29 carries and only had 127 yards. So that's some tough ground game. You can do the math on that for yards per carry, but he did get a TD. And Burrow was pretty efficient with 20 completions on 27 attempts for 262. And Burrow threw 2 touchdowns, but came with a price. Burrow, coming off a season-ending knee injury last year, likes to stand in the pocket a little bit too long. He's one of them guys, he's a genuine pocket passer. He'll stand in the pocket, stand tall, scan the defense, look for his open receiver, burp the baby, as I like to call it, okay? But sometimes he does it a little bit too long. So he took a lot of bad hits and he got sacked 5 times. Going to need to look at that because Joe Burrow, if he keeps that up, is going to miss half of another season. Not good, Joe. Need to get rid of the ball. All right. The San Francisco 49ers go to visit the Detroit Lions. This game was far more entertaining than I expected it to be. The Niners did win the game, 41-33. Starting running back Raheem Mostert, who we talked about earlier, sustained a knee injury that's basically going to end his season. But enter Elijah Mitchell. Is that a cousin of yours?
I'm claiming him.
You're claiming him? Okay.
I'm putting him on the tree on Ancestry.
This guy ran 19 times for 104 yards and a touchdown. Seems no matter who Coach Shanahan plugs in to that vaunted Niner run game, it just keeps on rolling along. Jimmy Garoppolo quieted the Trey Lance talk a little bit, at least for 1 week anyway. He had a real nice game. 17-25, 314 yards, 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown was a beauty to Deebo Samuel. It went for 79 yards. Deebo did most of the work with the long run. But that turned out to be a career night for Deebo. He had 9 catches for a total of 189 yards. That's a huge night for a wide receiver. The Lions just fell behind early and got most of their points in garbage time.
That one turnover he had, though,
yeah,
that was a hurt piece, man.
And I know I said I thought the game was more entertaining than I thought it would be. And then I come back and say the Lions scored most of their points in garbage time. But it was entertaining because I got to see DeAndre Swift, who's from Philadelphia.
I wouldn't call their points garbage time. I mean, they were trying to come back, and we were
trying.
We were enabling them.
The Niners ever in danger?
What, 8 points?
Come on, man.
When
was that? In the fourth quarter?
Yeah, it was late in the fourth quarter.
Bruh.
They got within 8, man. It shouldn't even got that close. I'm telling you. Should not have been that close.
Okay, well, Robert Saleh's gone, so talk to your D coordinator.
Man, look, let me tell you. And again, I told you, I had some questions about the secondary. You lose a Richard Sherman, that level of command and control in your defense and stuff. So some things have to be worked out the second preseason.
Absolutely, especially knowing that they're going to play better teams and knowing how tough their division is, and they have to play everybody in the division twice. So, yes, absolutely, that has to be addressed. But against the Lions, come on, not a problem.
I think everybody's taking the Lions too lightly, but let's go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I hear you. Arizona Cardinals at Tennessee Titans. This one surprised me. The Cardinals beat the Titans 38-13. I did not see this one coming. Ryan Tannehill threw for 1 touchdown, and he ran for another one. But the Cardinals front 7 limited Derrick Henry to 58 yards rushing. And at that point, they just completely ignored Tannehill's weak attempts at play action. So you're not getting rushing yards. Your play action is out the window. They're just coming at you.
Now, Ben, let me just say this because you bring this point up, and this has been a point of contention of mine for a long time.
Yes.
coaches who call play action when nobody is concerned about the run at all. You know,
right? But we're talking about Derrick Henry here. So coming into the game, you are concerned about Derrick Henry.
Coming into the game.
However, they made a decision. We're going to live and die stopping Derrick Henry. We're going to load the box, and we're going to lose. Ryan Tannehill's going to beat us. And it worked.
And it worked. Yes, it did.
So, at that point, it's like, you're not going to give it to him because he ain't going nowhere. And we just going to keep coming. They sacked Tannehill 6 times. Chandler Jones had 5 sacks on his own. This guy's looking at defensive MVP front running right now.
I think he got something for the week on that. He might be defensive player.
Probably get defensive player of the week. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. 5 sacks in one game? Absolutely. They did intercept Tannehill once, and they recovered 2 fumbles. The turnovers contributed to a red-hot Kyler Murray going off for 4 TDs. 4 TDs through the air. He had 1 on the ground. 2 of the TDs that he threw went to DeAndre Hopkins. This guy's hands, if you ever get a chance to look at his hands, he wears 4XL gloves. I didn't even know they made 4XL gloves. Okay.
Is it true? I heard that he slits the seams or something on them so that they fit better. Somebody does that.
Probably.
It's not
and
him.
He does some kind of exercises where he actually pushes his hands together in some fashion, sort of kind of like this, to stretch the tendons in his fingers. It's incredible. But anyway, that's not surprising that he caught 2 touchdown passes. What was surprising was that Christian Kirk looks like he's ready to take over for Larry Fitzgerald now that Fitzgerald has retired, and Christian Kirk is trying to move himself up to be the number 2 option in the wide receiver core there. AJ Green looks like he's fading. I don't know. I don't know what to say about AJ, but Christian Kirk is stepping up. He had 2 scores also. So watch out for the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Let's see where we at. Seattle.
Watch out for the NFC West.
NFC West is the toughest division in football. No doubt about it. Seattle Seahawks roll into Indianapolis to play the Colts. I thought this game would be a little bit better than it was, but Seattle looked good. They won the game 28-16. Excuse me. The Seahawks defense looked much improved from last year. They harassed Carson Wentz all day long. At least he looked healthy. He was scrambling around for his life, but he was moving. He didn't look hampered by his foot injury. But if he keeps getting pressured like this, he's not going to be around long. He can't keep taking that kind of punishment. And if he does for a few more games, he's going to be out again. He got sacked 4 times. He got hit 14 times. And 15 of his 25 pass completions, 15 of his 25 pass completions went to running backs on little downfield stuff, dink and dunks, and swing passes. Check downs, as we like to call them. Couldn't find his receivers downfield. Meanwhile, Russ came out cooking. Threw 2 TD passes to the Seahawks in the Seahawks' first 4 first half possessions. I said that wrong. 2 touchdowns in 4 first half possessions. I'm still having trouble saying that. I don't know why. Both of the touchdowns were over the top to Tyler Lockett. I'm still thinking about Murray. Tyler Lockett, and Russ finished with 4 scores altogether. And running back Chris Carson also had a strong game. Ran the ball 16 times for 91 yards. Okay, LA Chargers, another one of my favorite AFC teams to watch, just because I love Justin Herbert. They go into Washington to play the vaunted Washington defense. Guess what? Chargers come West Coast to East Coast and beat the Washington football team 20-16. This was a good game. Ooh, vaunted. That's a good word. I like that word. The vaunted Washington football team defense recorded only 2 sacks. They did get 1 interception. They did have 1 fumble recovery against Justin Herbert. But other than that, he had a damn good day. His offensive line pretty much handled the Washington front seven for the rest of the game, and he torched their secondary for 337 yards on 31 of 47 passing and 1 touchdown. He completed 13 of 16 passes on third downs and converted an amazing 11 first downs. Let me repeat that. He threw 16 passes on third downs. He completed 13 of them and converted 11 first downs on third down. His main target on most of those third down conversions was Keenan Allen, who's his number 1 wide receiver. He actually caught 9 passes total for 100 yards. I did find it a bit curious that running back Austin Eckler didn't receive a single target. He ran the ball 15 times. He got 57 yards. He did score a touchdown. Fantasy note, Austin Eckler was a guy that a lot of people went after, especially if they were playing in PPR leagues. PPR leagues is points per reception. So no matter how much yardage a guy gets or touchdowns he gets, he also gets 1 extra point every time he catches the ball. Austin Eckler looked like a big-time PPR running back. For him not to get a target, not even a target in a game, is a little bit curious. He did get more red zone looks than he used to get and more goal line work, but he didn't catch a pass. That's not a good thing. As far as Washington is concerned, they lost their starting quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick. He got a hip injury. That's going to keep him out 6 to 8 weeks. So they got to roll with Taylor Heineke, who I actually like, but it's going to take him another game or two to kind of get rolling as the starter.
Where do you stand on the question of them bringing in Cam?
I wouldn't.
Me neither.
I don't think Cam fits there. Even though he used to play for Carolina and he used to play for the head coach there, I don't think he fits what they're doing right now. I really don't.
Okay.
I wouldn't do it. I would go with Heineke. Heineke proved he can win games last season. You know, when Alex Smith wasn't right, Heineke came in. When they decided not to go with Alex Smith anymore, they relied on Heineke. You know, they didn't draft a quarterback in the early rounds in the draft. They went out and got a free agent guy, a veteran in Fitzpatrick, and they held on to Heineke. They like the guy. I like the guy. He knows the offense, and he's not bad. I think you'll see better things out of him in weeks to come.
All right.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So moving on. The New York Jets, with their brand new rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, went down to Carolina to play the Panthers. They did not win, but again, another close and very entertaining game. In fact, I think the Carolina, this is my opinion, the Carolina defense is much improved, and I thought they would handle the Jets. They really didn't. They won the game 19-14, but this was a game that could have went either way for most of the game. So, I mean, considering that he was rushed mercilessly from the outset of this game and was sacked 6 times, Jets rookie quarterback Zach Wilson scrambled and survived well enough to complete 20 out of 37 passes for 258 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he only threw 1 interception. That was surprising to me, but let's remember when we did our draft show and we talked about Zach Wilson, we said that what these coaches were looking at when they looked at him and what they admired about him was his off-platform throws, as they call it, being able to throw on the run, being able to throw across your body accurately, being able to throw, roll one way and go back the other way and all that stuff. So that worked to his advantage to where statistically he had actually a pretty good game. Unfortunately for Wilson and the Jets, they got outdueled by Sam Darnold, the guy who used to be the quarterback for the Jets, and the Panthers. Even though Darnold's accuracy was a bit shaky, he was only 24-35. He only threw for 270 yards, and he only threw 1 touchdown through the air. He did run 1 touchdown in. But the real hero for Carolina was my man, Mack, Christian McCaffrey. Dude, I've been waiting for this dude on my fantasy keeper teams. I've been holding on to this cat for 2 years, trying to get him healthy. And it paid off for me so far in week 1. And hopefully it's going to pay off for me for the rest of this season. After only being able to appear in 3 games last year because of injuries, because he was injured. He came in, he played a couple games, he went out hurt again. Then he came back, he played another game, then he got hurt again. This guy comes in, runs 21 times, 98 yards, catches 9 passes for an additional 89 yards. This dude's a superstar, man. This dude's a beast. And some of the passes, he was lined up in the slot. So he caught swing passes out of the backfield. He caught screens. Then he lined up in the slot, caught balls downfield. What can he not do? Christian McCaffrey, my man.
The name that I did hear you mention is that combo between Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson.
Well, this is how I see it, and it's no secret. DJ Moore is the possession guy, and he can hurt you on intermediate stuff. But when it's time to go bombs away, Robbie Anderson is hard to cover. Robbie Anderson can shred your defense for big yardage anytime he basically wants to. It's just a matter of Darnold being on time with the throw. That's all. Carolina's going to be a dangerous team to deal with. Like I said, the defense, I believe, is much improved. Some people say it's slightly improved. I believe it's much improved, especially up front. And it's all about Darnold and McCaffrey staying healthy. But yeah, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson are a nice combination at wide receiver. And the better Darnold gets with them, the better they're going to be. So Carolina could be dangerous.
This is an interesting time with our rookie quarterbacks. We've got 2 who are starting, right? Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. And we got 2 who are on the bench that everybody thinks kind of should be starting with, Justin Fields in Chicago and Trey Lance with the Niners.
And both of them got in the game.
And both of them got into the game, yeah.
So that tells you.
Well, first off, relative to Justin Fields, I think his situation is different because I don't think that the true belief is there that Andy Dalton is going to be, is a serious starting quarterback at this point.
I agree.
Okay. I consider him a really good backup at this point. So you got the rookie, at backup to a backup. I don't consider Garoppolo a backup to Trey Lance. The interesting on the game is that, again, Garoppolo's rated like 75 and Trey Lance is rated like 74. So literally on the game, I replaced Garoppolo with Trey Lance. But that's where my mind separates between the game and real life. I do not recommend that because I think, as you said, the running game that the Niners have, you want someone who can operate that offense. The thing I always have to remember, even in playing the game, is the nature of that team is a running team. So I always have to stay. If I stay true to my nature, the passing game opens up. It just it's how it works. It just works. And again, as I said to you, if you have a dominant tight end, you can really be competitive in this league. So, we look across and we did the tight end review. We got to go back and kind of look at that again because I'm taking that a little more seriously, man. So very interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's not a problem. All I would say with that is I noticed that both coaches made sure that both of those guys got into the game. Dalton's got a real short leash. Okay. Garoppolo's leash is still really long, but I believe that they're going to try their best to insert Trey Lance here and there in positions where he won't hurt himself and he won't hurt the team. but they can kind of get him up to speed with the speed of the NFL game. Let's face it, we talk about the speed of the NFL game all the time when these guys come out of college. Now we're talking about a guy who's not only coming out of college, but over the past year, only played in one actual game. Okay. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of time as long as Garoppolo stays healthy for Trey Lance to get in there and get some serious play. But Justin Fields is on deck.
You and I actually didn't like
up.
You and I actually didn't like the what do you call it, platooning of the quarterback initially, but it seems to be in those cases, especially with Trey, he is the backup. So you got to get him prepared for, as you say, the speed of the game, and then be ready to come in at a moment's notice. So you kind of have to get him in whenever you can. That was one of the things that I was kind of pissed off about with the Lions. I'm looking at that game. I'm going, oh, Trey might get some run today if we can hold these boys down, because we had such a large margin at some point. Didn't happen. So in any event, yeah, absolutely different situations. But both of them, when they came in, they were pretty effective, right?
Right.
Okay.
For what they were asked to do, yes, they were prepared. They were ready to carry out what they had to do and get them the heck off the field, continue on with the game. So
who's up next?
Jacksonville Jaguars travel to Houston to play the Houston Texans. Both teams looking like they're going to be bottom feeders. Turned out to be a pretty good game, but this is what we got here. And I remember a little something you sent to me, to my DM, in reference to Madden ratings between Trevor Lawrence and Tyrod Taylor. So here's what I got to say. So this one was the battle between the quarterback who was the number one pick in the draft, Trevor Lawrence, versus the grizzled old veteran, part-time starter, most of the time backup, Tyrod Taylor. Both quarterbacks went against very lowly ranked defenses, but one of them was clearly better. With basically no run game to speak of, the Jaguars needed Lawrence to throw the ball 51 times. And although his arm talent was clear to see, he was only able to complete 28 of those passes. 28 of 51 is not very good. He did throw for 332 yards, though, so he was airing it out. And he did, in fact, throw 3 touchdown passes. But he also suffered 3 interceptions. Receivers dropped 5 passes, and he had 6 3-and-outs. So he had trouble converting on 3rd down. Not good. Conversely, Tyrod Taylor was 21 of 33, 291, 2 touchdowns, and he ran 40 yards on the ground, and he was only sacked once, and he had no turnovers.
Tyrod did the darn thing, man.
There you go. And that was my whole point. When you get Madden ratings on a rookie, they have nothing to base them on but what they did in college. And even though, well, he didn't actually play in the SEC because Clemson's actually in the ACC, but he played plenty of SEC teams, played plenty of big-time talent. But playing on a loaded college team is a little bit different from playing in the NFL. So we'll see how his Madden ratings look next year. But for now, I would say Tyrod's better.
Well, the interesting thing about the ratings, I'm actually looking at the ratings right now, it comes in the awareness category. And they actually somewhat apparently disrespected Tyrod because they gave Trevor Lawrence an 80 in awareness and Tyrod Taylor a 66.
Yes, I would agree that I believe 66 is disrespectful to Tyrod. And I think that anything in the 80s for Trevor Lawrence, yeah, sure. You're on a team that's loaded. And believe me, college football is not known for great defenses anywhere. It's good for great defensive talent here and there, that safety, that corner on this team, that safety on this team, that linebacker on this team. But great college defenses, You never hear about that.
A lot
So
of big scores in college, right? A lot of
yeah,
shootouts.
sure. It's crazy.
Either that or a lot of little teams getting smashed by the big teams who
Yeah, sure,
paid
sure.
them to get
So
smashed.
obviously his awareness is going to be up, but I digress.
That's an interesting, situation there, and I'll be looking to see if they do an update, because again, you also got to give the coach for the Houston Texans. I still want to go back and give him props for having that team ready to play.
And yes, they were ready to play, and believe me, they handled the Jacksonville run with no problem. So now I'm starting to wonder, like, if they got to throw the ball 51 times because they can't get a running game going, is that because of their offensive line or is that because of Houston's defense? But when I see him throw for 332 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he throws 3 interceptions, I'm saying, hey, maybe the Texans were actually really prepared for this guy. I mean, those are old Tampa Bay Jameis numbers there. 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. You know what I mean? Not to mention the 5 drop passes, which I can't give Houston credit for that. I think the Jaguars are in worse shape than we thought they were, and Urban Meyer better get himself together. He's going to be back in college right quick.
No, don't even bring that up because that question has already come up because of some opening.
Already out there.
But I want to jump back real quick, and you can help me get my memory correct on this. The Ravens picked up the running back from the Saints, Latavius
Murray. That is correct.
Good pickup, man.
It's a good pickup.
That was a good pickup. As Latavius gets used to that offense again, the pistol and all of that, he probably got a little taste of that when they brought in, the guy for the Saints that they would bring in, when he wanted to run all of the option stuff when Drew was there, Taysom Hill, right? So he did actually get a little taste of that with the Saints. He'll get a big portion of that with the Ravens. But I thought that was a good pickup, man. I
thought it was a very good pickup also. I think he fits their scheme. And word on the street is, word on the fantasy street is that eventually Murray will take over for Tyson Williams. I'm not real sure about that. Tyson Williams is a dynamic running back. The kid is not weak, and he's got some quicks, and he's got some dead breakaway speed that Murray doesn't have, okay? I got a feeling it's going to end up being a real committee over there between the two of them. And then you got to add Lamar in there, okay? So Tyson looks like, I keep calling him Tyson. I think his name is Tyson.
How you spell it?
Tyson Williams. Ty''S-O-N. Tyson Williams.
Okay.
Right now is the number 1 back. Latavius Murray is number 2. And let's remember, they have Le'Veon Bell and Devontae Freeman on the practice squad lurking. So, if you play fantasy, you might be able to live off of Murray and Williams for a little while. But I don't know how long that's going to last. You might be wanting to look for another back. But anyway, this was my intriguing game of the week. The Cleveland Browns at the Kansas City Chiefs. And boy, did it live up to it. This was a great game. And I picked Cleveland to win this game. And I picked Cleveland to win this game because I thought the game was going to be just like the first half was. Unfortunately, they didn't carry that over into the second half. So here we go. This was my intriguing game.
Let me remind you of how funny it was last week. Because you were walking on down that Kansas City pathway.
Yeah, I know.
You're saying Kansas City, and you got, no. I'm going with the Browns.
Right, I was. You're exactly right. That's exactly. I said, nope, I'm calling for the upset. I'm calling for the Browns. I'm telling you, I believe that Cleveland is one of maybe a couple other teams in the AFC that could possibly stand in the way of Kansas City making it to a third straight Super Bowl. I only wish this game, I actually wish this game had taken place a little bit later in the season and not in week 1. But bottom line is the Browns came out on fire. They scored on 3 of their 4 first half possessions. They put up 318 total yards, and they ran out to a 22-10 lead. Then the freaking wheels fell off. Now, although the Chiefs were able to mount a furious comeback, they were helped quite a bit by Cleveland's mistakes. A Nick Chubb fumble and a bobbled snap by the Browns punter led to scores for KC, and Baker threw a game-clinching INT on his own team's final drive. So that basically killed them. So mistakes in the second half, penalties, fumbles. The punter dropped, the snap came right to him. He bobbled it, dropped it. That gave him the ball on the 15-yard line.
Second preseason.
Bro, it's the punter.
Hey,
He
look,
has 2 things to do.
He practiced too.
Bro, he only has 2 jobs.
Game speed is different.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Not for a punter, it is not. He has 2 jobs. Catch the snap and punt the ball. That's it. There's no change in practice speed to game speed. They practice punting the same way they punt in the game. That's bull. He got scared and dropped the ball.
Reminded me of the Miami Dolphins with what's his name? Your premium?
No, it's nothing like that. It was nothing like that. But yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? If you're a punter and you bobble the snap, the rush is on you. You know you can't punt the ball. So your first instinct is to try to run and get away from the defenders so you can maybe like get a little pooch kick or something. He couldn't even do that. They were all over. So he
had been done better to throw the ball away and just.
No.
I mean, he wound up getting sacked like 10, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage. It was worse field position. If he had fumbled it, you know.
You're asking a punter under duress who never practiced throwing the ball to try to throw it out of bounds.
Well, to be quite honest,
disaster written all over.
Practice, shouldn't that be something that okay, if you bobble it, this is what we want you to do? Shouldn't that have been part of the special teams practice?
It is part of the special teams. If
so what should he do? What should he be doing then? And he bobbled it.
Exactly what he did. He's supposed to try to roll out and get a running rugby kick. It's a rugby kick. You run and you kick it on the run. But the Ravens were all over it. They all got through. He had nowhere to go. He had no room to try to get the kickoff. And I'm sure he didn't want to kick it into them because if you do that, then they can scoop and score.
Right.
So he just took the L. You know, if he throws it out of bounds, he's going to get a what do you call it? A grounding something or what? Yeah, I don't want to talk about that anymore. Anyway, Baker finished with 21 to 28 for 321 yards. He did throw 1 interception. Nick Chubb had a good game. Ran 15 times for 83 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. Now, Mr. Mahomes, he threw for 3 touchdowns, completing 27 to 36 passes for 337 yards. Nice day. Typical Mahomes day. He also had a rushing touchdown. Again, he can do that, especially in the red zone. Anytime he gets close and you force him out of the pocket, you're in danger of him taking off on you. Tyreek Hill saw a whopping 15 targets. You know how rare it is for one receiver to get 15 targets in a game? It's extremely rare. He got 15 targets. He hauled in 11 of them. He scored 1 touchdown and he racked up 197 yards. Superstar. Okay? Kid's a stud. Travis Kelce, 7 targets, caught 6 of them, 76 yards, 2 touchdowns. Another killer player. If you got either one of them on your fantasy team, you are good to go. They can carry you. Those two guys you don't even have to have Mahomes. Those two guys can carry your fantasy team. Unbelievable.
It's amazing watching Kelsey just run his little short turnarounds, catch.
And somehow he's always open.
It's amazing. It is amazing. And I mean, I know him and Kittles does their tight end university, So I'm watching him like, okay, these are the teachers now. Let me see, But it is amazing. And then once he catches it.
I actually have two fantasy, I got a lot of fantasy teams. I actually have two fantasy teams where I was able to draft Kittle and Kelsey.
Are you serious?
And I named the team TEU. Tight End University.
Okay.
That's the name of my team.
Oh my.
But anyway, so big time AFC matchup. Miami Dolphins go in to play the New England Patriots up in Foxborough. And the Miami Dolphins squeeze out a 17-16 win. Now, rookie quarterback Mac Jones of the New England Patriots made his NFL debut, and he had a pretty solid game against a pretty good defense. I like Miami. They play a lot of man-to-man. They blitz a lot. He was able to complete 28 of 39 passes, 281 yards, and a score. He was also only sacked once. He spread the ball around pretty evenly between pass-catching back James White and his receivers, and he didn't commit a turnover. So good, solid first NFL game from Mac Jones. Looks like they made the right decision. Now, I'm sorry, Cam. Miami offensive line.
And in the meantime, Cam's old coach is like, nah, that's all right.
The Miami offensive line is not nearly as solid as the Patriots.
Can I say this much real quick?
Yeah.
Did you see the video of them interviewing Cam about him being cut?
No, I saw the thing, but I never watched it. What was he saying?
This is just
didn't have nothing to do with COVID.
He had a hat on, right?
Yeah.
But the top apparently was cut out because he had hair sticking straight out the middle of the hat. And he's saying, well, I don't blame him. I might have been a distraction. And I'm looking at him, I'm going.
Dude, that's funny. You know that's not what he meant. You know that's not what he meant, right?
It is what it is.
No, stop it. You know what he meant. I'm Cam Newton. Newton.
He is a personality. If you're going to bring him on your squad, you got to be ready to bring all of that Cam personality with you.
I understand that.
And all of
that. I understand that. But if you keep Cam Newton on your team and you decide that you're going to make Mac Jones your starter, Mac Jones can't help but look over his shoulder because that's Cam Newton. Forget the hats and the personality and all that. That's what he meant. I don't blame him. He's right.
Oh, and however you want to look at it, he's right. And it's not either or, it's probably both.
Well, the fact that he's a personality and he wears weird hats and stuff means absolutely nothing to Mac Jones. Mac Jones is trying to Mac Jones is trying to win a job and be an NFL quarterback. That's all. And play for the New England Patriots, who have 100,000 Super Bowls. That's all Mac Jones cares about. And now that Cam is gone, he's completely comfortable, which is exactly what they want him to be. Boom. End the conversation.
And they're not worried about him transitioning to game speed. This is the interesting thing between the two guys who are starting versus the guys who are not starting. Excuse me. And the reasons that we're given for why they're not, ready to actually play. And that's the question. I think in Trey Lance's situation, well, again, he didn't have the amount of games under his belt coming in. So
absolutely not.
Justin Fields, however, not the same situation. He had plenty of games under his belt. So
that's true. And that's why he'll probably make his first appearance in the next couple of weeks if Dalton keeps stinking it up. But the Mac Jones deal is completely different. Number one, Mac Jones played for Nick Saban. Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are like this, okay? Nick Saban grooms his players for the NFL. Nick Saban prepared Mac Jones for the NFL and then told Bill Belichick, this boy's ready if you need him to play right away. I vouch for him. And Big Bill Belichick said, you think we'll have to trade up to get him? I saw your post on Facebook, by the way, Barry. All them people, and there was a whole bunch of people that commented on that Facebook post about the Niners moving up to the third pick in the draft to take Trey Lance, pretending that they did it, or so-called pretending that they did it because they knew Belichick wanted Jones. They missed the entire point. They missed the entire point. The point is, the Niners didn't win, and the Patriots didn't win. The Miami Dolphins won. They got 3 first-round picks. The Niners got what they wanted. They made sure they got Trey Lance. And Mac Jones sat there, and the Patriots didn't have a doggone thing, and he fell in their lap. Boom. Everybody wins. It's crazy. That whole post was just, the answers I saw in that post were crazy. But anyway, so we're talking about Miami and New England. Miami pulled out the win. Their offensive line is not nearly as solid as the Patriots, like I was saying. And the Patriots D is pretty good too. So they came after Tua with a vengeance. It was crazy. Tua was running around like a nut too. And although they only sacked him twice, he was running for his life most of the day. He did throw 1 touchdown. He did throw 1 INT, but he also spread the ball around pretty evenly between his committee of backs. He's got a whole ton of backs, Gaskins, Ahmed. He's got like 4 backs that they play. And also he got rookie Jalen Waddle involved, who played with him at Alabama. He also got Devontae Parker involved. And Devontae Parker is a 6'4", gigantic catch radius type of dude. Now, here's the deal. Miami wins this game, and I haven't even looked at next week's games yet because I like to get them off the top when you give them to me before I make my picks. But with Waddle and Parker and now Will Fuller having served his suspension, he'll be back next week also. Tua gets another playmaker. So watch out for Miami. Okay.
All right. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. So next on the docket, we have the Green Bay Packers at the New Orleans Saints. Talk about surprises. This one, I don't even know what to think of this. And we talked about this a little earlier here in the show about what I thought about Green Bay's meltdown. I don't even know what to say. The Packers got the crap beat out of them on both sides of the ball. The Saints were expected to come into the season with a pretty stout defense, but they gave Aaron Rodgers fits. We've been talking about Rodgers all summer long, so I'm actually tired of talking about him. So let's talk about Jameis.
Well, we said early on, Jameis and Dwayne Haskins were 2 quarterbacks who had tremendous opportunities and potentially in front of them.
That is correct. And
Jameis, now with Drew having stepped off, man, and another what was the other coach you said they think the Patriots, you think they made the right decision? Saints also made the right decision here.
Oh, absolutely. I've been going for Jameis all along. 2 reasons. Number 1, Jameis is a real quarterback. Taysom Hill is not. Number 2, Jameis is a real quarterback, and Taysom Hill does so many other things. Why would you take that out of your offense? The guy is a weapon. You got to use him as a weapon. You know what I mean? But first of all, Jameis was gifted with great field position several times during the game by a defense that was just swarming all over the Packers. They got 2 sacks, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery, and a 4th down stop. I don't know what made the Packers think they could go for it on 4th down, but I don't know. That must have been early in the game. I didn't see that entire game. Now that being said,
say this much then before you finish. The game was relatively close for a while. It was one of those things. At one point, it was like 14-3. You know what I mean? And it was like 17-3 or something like that. And you always kept feeling like, okay, Packers going to pop, and things are going to be right back together.
Once it goes to 17-3, it ain't close no more.
It's the Pack, man. We just expect A&R to do a little something. And the next thing you know, you might be down 1. Didn't happen.
But you got to remember, during the course of the game, Aaron Jones wasn't getting off. So if Aaron Jones ain't getting off, then you're looking at Aaron Rodgers having to throw 50-something passes like some of these other guys had to do. It just wasn't happening. Mm-hmm. They pulled him out of the game. It was ridiculous. They had nothing.
I thought it was almost interesting because his whole complaint is that, or not whole complaint, but so much of the complaint was, you drafted my replacement. And then he literally plays so bad that they have to put the replacement in there.
Well, it wasn't even so much that he played so bad that they put him in. It didn't make sense to leave him out there.
No, it didn't. It didn't. It didn't.
So, but they'll be back. But
against the Detroit Lions, right? Everybody's assuming.
Here you go with the damn Detroit Lions. So anyway, I'm talking about Jameis.
I'm talking about Jameis.
Now, his numbers were not eye-popping. He only was 14 of 20, and he only threw for 148 yards through the air. But he threw 5 touchdown passes. So again, and I talk about this all the time, field position is extremely important. When your defense is able to put you in good field position because they're holding the other team's offense and forcing them to punt. Even if you drive and don't score and you punt it back to them and they hold again and force them to punt again, each time you're starting your series closer and closer and closer to the goal line you're trying to get to. And that's what happened. So he was able to throw 5 touchdown passes. That's tremendous. There's no way they were coming back from that, not without a balanced attack. And one of his touchdown passes went to Alvin Kamara, who's probably going to have another outstanding season. He ran 20 times for 83 yards. And then, he caught a touchdown pass. And then when the fourth quarter started, he hit the bench. No need to stay out there. We're killing these guys. Crazy.
I'm actually wanted to just to mention. I remember hearing this, so I'm kind of just pulling it up to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
But, Jameis actually had a historic day for throwing the number of touchdowns versus the number of total passes that he actually had, that ratio of touchdown to passes.
Oh, yeah, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, it was something historic about that. I was trying to pull it up real fast. I don't see it. But long story short, Jameis had a great day, man. And just
if you think about it, that's pretty incredible to be able to throw 5 touchdown passes on only 148 yards passing total. That's pretty crazy. But again, it's that part of the game that a lot of teams forget about, or a lot of fans forget about. Teams don't forget about it. The fans forget about, and that's field position. If you're in good field position every time you go out on the field, good things are going to happen.
Yeah, he looked great. He took full advantage of that field position. So, all right, there you go.
Who's up next? Next up, we got a little heartbreaker for me. The New York Giants hosted the Denver Broncos. I tell you what, I think I picked the Giants to win only because the Giants are my team and I love them.
I'm glad to hear the honesty here.
No, I have to be honest, man. That other hyperbole or false hyperbole, I'll leave that to the Eagles fans. Okay. I know my team has issues. Okay. I love them anyway, and I'm going to ride or die. But Denver came in here with a pretty good defense and ended up beating them 27-13. But I like the 13 that we got. There were some things I liked and there were some things I didn't like. And as a fan, I have to say I am not distraught. Okay. I wish they had been able to win, but I saw some good things and I saw some bad things. And I think that we have things to build on. Now, I have to be honest, though. It looks like it's going to be a long season for us, unless Danny Dimes can show some marked improvement and Saquon can get rolling. If those two things happen, then I'll feel a lot better. But even with a below average offensive line, Daniel Jones was only sacked 2 times. That's pretty good because the Denver pass rush is pretty ferocious. We talking about Von Miller and all that stuff going on. Bradley Chubb, okay? They only really got to him twice. Now, he was under constant pressure, but he was still able to throw 2 touchdown passes, and he ran for 1 touchdown. That was kind of late in the game, though. Things were pretty much settled. Sterling Shepard stepped up. He was his main target. He caught 7 passes. He did score a touchdown. But Barkley was held in check. And the only good thing I can say about Barkley was he did start the game. He looked relatively healthy. He played 47% of the offensive snaps, which is good. So it doesn't look like he was on a pitch count, as they say. And so I'm going to deem him 100% healthy, and I expect better things as we go. Now, here's the crazy thing for Denver. So as the debate in Denver raged over the summer and during training camp about whether to start quarterback or who the starting quarterback would be between Bridgewater and Locke, the job was ultimately won in the preseason by Bridgewater. Teddy Two Gloves, as I like to call him, didn't need to do much with this defense holding the Giants to only 2 scores. And running back Melvin Gordon looked fresh. He sprinted for 70-yard touchdown. And that was 70 yards of his total 101 yards that he got on only 11 carries. Okay. You want your starting running back to get between 18 and 24 carries and get 100, 125 yards. That's a pretty good day. He went for 101 on 11 carries, 70 yards on 1. And let me tell you, he looked like Melvin Gordon straight out of Wisconsin on that run. I didn't even know he still had that in him. Now the Broncos did.
I saw a little bit of that on the game, man, and you're right.
But that speed,
they did, yeah. They actually, but they actually had 25 total rushing attempts between Gordon and Williams. So that's not bad. Williams didn't have as he didn't have the big breakaway. He averaged 3.2 yards. Yeah. But that's 14 attempts, man. So that means they're trying to run the ball.
Oh, absolutely. And they need to. They need to. You want to balance the attack. The great thing about that is if they can actually establish a good running game, they have a nice, dynamic, young receiver core. Jerry Jeudy's going to be out for a few weeks with a high ankle sprain. So they just plug in KJ Hamler from Penn State, and he goes in, plays the slot, Courtland Sutton on one side, Tim Patrick on the other side. Both of them are 6'4", 6'5", and fast. Nice receiving core. I said it before, I'll say it again. Watch out for the Broncos.
Let's not forget Fant.
Yeah. I tell you what, they were talking bad about Fant. I was doing, when I was doing my fantasy research, they were talking bad about Fant. They had him low on the totem pole as far as the tight ends are concerned. That's a big dude, and he can catch, and he's hard to tackle. He ain't dead yet.
No, not at all. I mean, he had the most receptions on the day. He had 8, most targets anyway. He had 8 targets, and that was the most. And, again, I'm saying this, I'm going to continue to say it. If you had a really good tight end,
yes,
you have a competitive offense, man. I'm telling you, it's an amazing thing.
All right, so we kind of talked about these two teams and these two quarterbacks earlier in the show. Chicago at LA, Bears versus Rams. Rams basically did the damn thing and took the Chicago Bears apart. I feel bad for the Chicago Bear fans. I feel like the kid at Christmas who comes down and opens up all his toys, and they're kind of okay toys, but they're not the ones he asked for. And then his dad says, oh, the one you asked for, it's over there, but you can't open it till your birthday, which is in January. They okay? That's
bad, Zay.
That's how Chicago fans feel right now. Andy Dalton's day. Andy Dalton's days are officially numbered. He struggled to complete 27 out of 38 passes for a stinking 206 yards and threw no touchdown passes. Now, granted, the Rams defense is no joke. Their secondary especially looks to be extremely tight. And we all know about Aaron Donald, okay? So Dalton was sacked 3 times. He was intercepted once, and the Bears were stopped going for it on 4th down 4 times. Why, oh, why would the Bears play caller, who I believe is their head coach, I believe he calls the offense, why would they go for it on 4th down 4 times? Are you serious? They got stopped every time. Jeez, what the hell's going on out here? The other quarterback in this game was also starting his first year with a new team, just like Dalton, but he came out firing on all cylinders. Matthew Stafford fits Sean McVay's offense to a T. He completed a sizzling 20 of 26 passes, 20 of 26, 321 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. All 3 touchdowns went to 3 different receivers. Van Jefferson, who's like the 3rd wideout, Cooper Kupp, who had a tremendous day, and Robert Woods. And Kupp almost had a second one, but they said that he got stopped just short of the goal line on one of his. So, man, I don't know, bro. The NFC West, bro. Freaking Rams. I'm telling you, Stafford is a huge upgrade for them. Huge.
It's one of the things, if you would want to be able to get 3 teams out of one division, and that doesn't happen really, too much. But even that, all 4 teams look like playoff level teams at this particular point.
You could probably, I would venture to guess that you will get 2, and you could possibly get 3.
An amazing thing.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Well,
all right.
Monday
Night Football
looked like a backup, and Matt Stafford looked like a starter.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So Monday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens went into Vegas to play the Raiders. This one turned out to be one of the most exciting and fun to watch games of week 1. Again, did not go the way I thought it would, but it was extremely entertaining. Vegas Raiders win the game 33-27 in overtime. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I love watching Lamar play. His superior speed, his athleticism is a sight to see. You love to watch it. You want to tune in every time you get a chance to watch the Ravens play, just so you can see him and see what he's going to do. But in this game, he tried to do too much. And I know you talk about it all the time. In this game, even for me, he tried to do too much. He helped stake the Ravens to a 14-0 lead in the first half, which was great. But in the second half, Derek Carr came alive and the Raiders came roaring back. The too much that I spoke of from Lamar ended up being 2 crucial fumbles in the fourth quarter The Raiders capitalized on them, ended up taking the game to overtime, and then winning it. Carr threw an insane 56 passes. I'm looking at John Gruden. You know, they show John Gruden on the sideline a lot because he makes all those faces and all that stuff. But Gruden actually looked pretty cool in this game. I think Gruden, and we talked about this before too, Gruden loves Derek Carr. Derek Carr is like Gruden's son. He believes in Derek Carr. He threw the ball 56 times, completed 34 passes, 435 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. No turnovers at all, if I remember correctly. Great game for the Raiders. Great game for Derek Carr. Great game for Raider Nation. Man, what a week one.
That was a crazy game. Overtime on a Monday night. I fell asleep.
You fell asleep?
I fell asleep.
What the?
It was, we got to the point where I think it was like tie, and I'm looking at the Ravens driving, and I'm like, oh, they're going to kick a field goal. This is done.
Right.
You know, I wake up and I'm like, what happened? What
Did you
happened?
see the touchdown play? Did you see the game-winning play?
Yeah. And
So,
you know what it reminded me of? Remember I always say Aaron Rodgers has the best fall away deep ball in the NFL.
Yeah.
This was a fall away deep ball.
Yeah. But it was completely safe because he was so freaking open.
So open.
I think he saw him, was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, oh, let me get it out of my hands. It was crazy, man. Big finish. Zay Jones, a guy who I have never given any respect to since he's been in this league. Zay Jones, you have a little bit of respect for me now. And after the game, Derek Carr said, Zay Jones gets no respect. This guy shows up at the facility at 6 a.m. every morning to do extra work with me. He prepares all week, and coach told us if we get this look, we're going to run this play. Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it, man. You know? All right. Well, that was a crazy week one in the NFL. The first weekend of the second preseason is in the books. We're going to see teams begin to sharpen up, you know, their act a little bit, you know, get back and look at the tapes. What didn't we do? What should we do? You know, guys who were dropping punts and, you know, all that kind of stuff, fumbles, and man, you know, I'm going to ask you this about your boys, the Giants, though, man.
Go ahead.
I'm starting to lose some faith in Danny Dimes, man.
Okay.
What about you? How are you feeling there?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. You still riding with Danny. You feeling
Yes.
good? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm starting to lose.
I believe
Andy Dalton or somebody.
I believe that he can turn his career around if they give him a little help on that offensive line. And here's the crazy thing. One of the starting guard went down or something. He's not going to play this week. So that's just what they need, right? More problems with the offensive line. It's crazy. Saquon's got to get going. But again, that's the offensive line. If they can't run block and they can't pass block, then everybody else struggles. But even with their struggles, he didn't have a bad statistical game, Daniel Jones. He didn't have a bad statistical game. He scored some touchdowns. He threw some touchdown passes. He ran one in, be it late in the game. And Sterling Shepard, who has had a lot of injury problems over his career, was the number one wideout, caught a lot of passes. And they still got Slayton, who they haven't really used. They still got Galladay. It's too much potential there. I cannot give up.
All right.